Welcome to Conversations with Crystal. I am your hostess, Crystal, and this evening's special guest is Glenn Way. Hey, Glenn, how are you going today?
G'day, Crystal. I'm going very well, thanks.
Oh, I'm really pleased to hear that. It's a real pleasure to talk with you tonight, Glenn. You know, you're one of those gentlemen that's a real gentleman, and I love watching you play and hearing you sing and all the things that you do for other musicians as well. It's really very inspiring.
Oh, wow, you are very kind. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So tonight there's a load of things that I'd like to talk with you about, and I know you've got heaps of stories for me, so start getting those ready. So at the moment, Glenn, what is the main thing that you do?
Well, that's a good question. The main thing I probably do is live sound these days. So I do a lot of mixing and so forth for bands, and when I'm not doing that, I'm hopefully playing in the Fudd Brothers or with my friend Paul Hoad in the Deaf Frets. And up until recently, we were doing kind of an Elvis thing as well, but that's finished up just recently. So we're probably looking to do more and more with the Fudds now that we're all got the space to get back into it.
Oh, that's good. So the Fudds, how many musicians are in that group?
That's a very good question. The Fudds are a little bit elastic.
Yep.
The Fudds started off in Lithgow, we think, in around about 1983. So we'd love to say we're Lithgow's oldest running band, but I think we're not. We know a couple that have been together longer, but we started off in Lithgow, a few mates of mine, and so that we would have been a standard old four-piece rock band. I think at one stage we did have a girl singer.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually JB, our drummer, became our front man, and we've been sort of trying to get him off the drums and out front for the last 40 odd years. He likes fine. He's got the rhythm in him, so he likes being on the drums. So we can do. John and I have done gigs as the two of us, and more recently, with our mate Graham Keaveney, we've been doing three-piece work.
Mm-hmm.
Our greatest claim to fame really is that we can play quietly.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Be surprised at the number of places that ask if you can do that. So sometimes we get gigs because we can, play at a level that suits the venue, and then if we have to, we get more people in. So we've started back playing with a real drummer. We've been doing sort of a three-piece with John on percussion and Cajon kind of thing, which was great fun, and probably still is our most fun thing because you can just go wherever
It
the
goes,
song
yeah.
takes us, which is funny places at times, but that works pretty good, and we all know each other so well, and Graham and I play together so much now with Champaign Jam, and John, I've been I shared a house with him back in 1980 something or other. So
Oh, my goodness.
playing when we're not playing, we're still playing at home because that's what we do for fun, I guess, is play music. So at the moment, we've probably got our next gigs with a drummer, so we'll have bass guitars, keys, drums, and a singer. So that's probably the biggest we've been for a while. So
Oh, that's fabulous. And when about is that, Glenn?
that one, I think that is a good question. I think it's the grand final day, which will be the 1st of October.
Oh, cool.
It's the Sunday afternoon at Erskineville.
Erskineville, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great fun afternoon. It's sort of outside gig, and there's from 4 or 5 year olds up to 80-year-olds, I guess, turn up. So the Fudds do play a lot of old stuff, but people seem to know it, so it kind of works. It's great for those occasions where there's a whole mix of people, and John's pretty good at entertaining the kiddies, and he has them eating out of his hand as the afternoon progresses, and he's good with the older people as well.
I was just going to ask that. Do you find that the kiddies get up and dance around and...
Yeah, young kids are so great because they don't go, I'm into punk, sorry, don't like this stuff. They just like music, I think, at that age. So it's just great. And kids are drawn to microphones and guitars and drums. love drums.
Yes.
It's easy. If I think if if that was our target group, all you need to do is have a microphone and a drum, and they'd be standing around wanting to have a turn.
They probably would. And what kind of music do you guys play?
That's a great question. It's hard to. A friend of ours, AJ, who was booking bands for a while at Dundas, described us as quirky pop songs. But we play, we used to be really a lot of Beatles and Stones and Eagles and that sort of thing. But as we've gotten older, the songs have gotten older, and I think we found a little bit of a niche playing old stuff. So it's not old rock, it's old. I guess it's old pop. But we play. We've got a Neil Sedaka song in the lineup.
Oh, wow. That's a cool.
And all those old Frankie Lane and people like that who did, out there songs, at the time, like Rawhide and stuff like that. So, all that stuff sort of comes out on occasion, as well as, there's some Beatles, but there's just a lot of sort of, I guess it's 60s and 70s pop, songs that people forgot that they liked, really, I guess, like, Love Grows Where My Rosemary Goes and things like that. Which,
do you know, I love that song.
Exactly.
And it's not on the Champaign Jam list.
Well, we could do it because we have chart for that one. So it's.
Oh, well, book me in for that.
Yeah, it's a great song, and you'd probably be able to do the key change. It does do a key change.
Yes, it does. I can, yes. I've been wanting to do that for months, and I've looked on there, and I thought, oh, no, we're going to have to do a chart for it. So you've taken that pressure away from me. Thank you.
Easy. No, we've definitely got one for that, and we like playing it.
That's fantastic. So, Glenn, now when you're playing, you said you've got a big cross-section of people that come to the gigs with the Fabulous Fuds. Now, do you kind of read the crowd and go, okay, there's some older ladies here, so we might play that Neil Sedaka stuff and that earlier stuff, or you don't do that so much? You just go with a set list, or you just go off?
Well, it depends who's playing with us. When there's three of us, we can do that. Like you go, oh, these people have asked for this song, let's go there. And I guess what happens sometimes is gigs take on a life of their own, and songs seem to just come to you.
Yes.
Like, just sometimes you need to know, I played this, and while you're playing that, you're going, oh, we're going to play this next. And it sort of works out that way. But we do have a set list. I mean, the fun, so we've been playing for so long, we've got so many songs, and we can pull most of them out on the spot, I guess, and do them. But when new people come, they don't like all the surprises of doing that. But,
Yeah.
It's like, I think we decided years ago that you can't please everybody, so focus on the stuff that you like to play. And if you look like you're liking it, everybody seems to like it as well. So it's, everyone worries, oh, our songs they're too heavy, or they're too light, or they're too fast, or they're too slow. Well,
yeah.
At the end of the day, you play what you're good at, and that's all you can do. So we're really lucky that everyone says, gee, they're really old, but then they start dancing to them, so.
Yeah, and I think, you hit the nail on the head. Is if you look like you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, then the crowd's going to go, wow, look at these people, they love what they're doing, and it makes them feel happy too.
Exactly, yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, there are favourites they like things like Pretty Woman, and that just, or Brown Eye Girl, which we don't play too much, but people that's a trigger for most people to get up and dance. It's quite funny, the song make them get up.
They can't help themselves. So, Glenn, how many songs in your repertoire do you reckon that you've got?
Oh, goodness. Look, there'd probably be 100. And, we've got a lot of favourites that we like to do all the time, so we keep those in. So, pre-COVID, we were trying to, to make sure that every time we played, it felt like a different set of songs.
Okay.
Even though you always keep, you always have a few go-tos. And JB, our singer's hilarious. He always has his favourite, which is quite different from week to week, but that's my favourite. That's my favourite. So, and look, we like quirky stuff. Like there's stuff, a band called the Amazing Rhythm Aces, which I think most of those guys have passed on now, but they did some fantastic stuff. And I can't even describe their genre because sort of cover a lot. They're pretty country rocky type things, and we do songs, a couple of their songs. One of them's called Third Rate Romance, which is about a guy sneaking off to a motel for an affair, but it's a song, and
Yeah.
we sort of promote it as a beautiful love song, and of course it's not, but it's it's just some songs, like people will come up to us and say, oh, you should do that, that's a FUD song. Sometimes they're weird songs like Do You Know the Way to San Jose, or
But people love those. That's the funny thing, isn't
they,
it?
they do, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not songs that you hear. You know what I
No.
mean? There's so much, so many rock groups around and so much rock music that they're happy to hear something a little different.
Yeah, and that kind of works for us, and it's surprising because we thought by now, because we felt like we were playing old stuff when we were kids, like, because I guess we were playing Beatles and Stones, and those guys were,
Yeah. Oh, look, those bands are timeless, truly.
Yeah.
Yeah, timeless. Now, Glenn, I would like to ask, you've been working with Graham for a fair while now. Do you find that you guys have like a telepathy? You know that what each other's going to do and how you're going to play and what your thought is for the next song, or when you can improvise like that?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it does, but it's true. The more you play with someone, the more that sort of just happens, I think. But we've we've become just quite good at playing with each other, and I guess, and I think it's partly about when you're not playing, so you're not treading over each other's toes, or you're not fighting each other for parts. But we get on well, and even when he plays a lot of bass with the Fuds rather than guitar, so it still seems to just work well. You come across people like that, and you just click musically, and
Yeah.
we keep finding songs, and he goes, "Oh, you know that song?" I go, "Yeah, you know that song?" He goes, "Yeah."
Oh, that's
Now he plays in rock bands, but he likes other types of music as well. So we get on. He loves all the stuff that the Fuds play,
yeah.
and it's been funny. Before Graham, when we were in Lithgow, there was a lovely guitarist named Alan Ollerman who was the radio announcer at the station as well, and he was the best musician in town, and he wanted to play with us. We go, "Mate, why do you want to play with us?" He said, "Well, I love you guys, and it's so much fun. I don't have to rehearse, and you let me play whatever I want." And we're going, "Okay." But what was that, guitarists, it's hard work learning someone else's solos, but it's not so hard just improvising your own kind of stuff.
That's
and he
true.
was so unbelievable, and we were just, it was a thrill to play with him, and we all sort of, learned and grew, and he was the loveliest guy. He'd walk over and start tuning your guitar while you were playing and things like drive home without his headlights on and sneak up behind you and suddenly turn his headlights. He was just, he was the loveliest guy, and I think he's probably the best musician that we've played with.
Yeah.
And and Graham came along, and he's a bit like that as well. So when I say that he drives with his headlights off, no. He's good, he's a good musician, as you know. You listen to him every week.
Oh, looky, you both go above and beyond for the Champaign Jam. So let's talk a little bit about Champaign Jam. Tell us all about it, Glenn.
Tell us about Champaign. Yeah, a Champaign Jam, I think, started off. I'm guessing. So we've done more than 500 and something Champaign Jams.
Oh, what an achievement!
Yeah, well, and you've got to give Graham the credit for that, because it's all the work that he's done over the years, particularly putting charts together, has really made it successful, because people come along and say, "Can you do that song?" And he goes, "Yeah, I've got a chart for that." So it means that, if you've got a bass player around and a guitar player around and a drummer around, they can look at the chart, and, and you can do a fair job of doing that song. So that made, what would be a sloppy blues jam, I guess, turn into something that was quite musical. And Tuesday nights are a bit of a concert, really, with with largely a house band backing singers who come along, and a group of other friends and musicians that rock up and from time to time and play. So it's just fantastic. But I say, can't take too much credit for the success of that really is Graham, who's done all the work.
Mm-hmm.
My job just to to make sure the night runs and get people on and off and do that sort of stuff and chip in where I can play. But he's amazing in his ability to do charts. And because I said to him, he did used to do like 20 charts a week and so forth or more.
My goodness, yeah.
I'd take half a day to do one chart and it'd probably still be wrong. And he's just amazing. I mean, he's just got the ear. They're hearing it and they're writing it. So he's, phenomenal. And Champaign Jam, I guess, has become not only like a music thing, it's become a place where, lots of friends are coming to meet and people come up and just say that, well, there's nothing like this around anywhere. And it's, and it's friendly and people get to know each other and the next thing they're up on doing a song together. So it's just been great. And we've been so lucky. I guess it's good people attract good people because, over the years, it's just been, hundreds and hundreds of people have probably come and gone, but I can think of lots of them that were fantastic and that we loved and miss, and they've, moved away or moved somewhere else or stopped playing and things. But, and I can only think of really one or two that we ever had any issues with. And even that wasn't, anything major. Yeah. We had a guy playing, I think he was playing trombone.
Oh my goodness.
And it's a bit like what you hear in your head and what others hear are a different thing. So it was, trombone's a really loud instrument that takes a bit of skill, I think, to hit the right note.
Oh.
And, I think I don't know who someone had to say to him once that, sorry mate, people have said, could you please not play on my song? And he didn't understand it because he thought he was playing well. So
yeah. Oh, poor bugger.
Yeah, and but it was fun for a while because he was a lovely bloke and a real character, Mm-hmm. Do you ever remember a cartoon that had the big bad wolf and the three little pigs and
I do.
Trumpet player and you got to get real cool, I think he used to say.
Yeah, I do remember that, funnily enough, yes.
Well, it was iconic. It was just for a musician, it was great. So, he reminded me of that, but he wasn't quite, he was the big bad wolf before he went to hell and came back. When he came back, he played really well. So, but, he was a lovely bloke. So it's hard in those circumstances. And I guess we've had people over the years that, think they can sing, and some how sometimes it's fun and people can sing and it doesn't matter if you miss a note, but there are other people that just can't hold the note or know when to sing the note, so it's really hard at that. But we're so lucky that that's such a minor thing, and we've had so many great people come through and so much talent that comes through, and and we've got people like yourself and Rob who are coming every week now and filling slots, and Trevor, an Elvis guy that's been coming recently, and we had a Tom Jones guy come for a few weeks. So
and he's all good, yeah.
And they all bring something, and then we've got a few people that have been coming right since day one.
Mm-hmm. And how long ago is day one?
Oh, look, I think it's...
Would it be like 15 years or something?
Yeah, I think it's over 10 years. I'm not sure. I know the exact date because he's a very meticulous record keeper. He's probably knows the songs that got played on that night.
Oh my goodness!
But he's very good at that. But it's certainly been 10 years, and we're way over 500. We started off at the Family Inn on Victoria Road, and I think we were there for about 8 weeks. So I was mates with Graham at that stage because he would been playing in a couple of bands I'd been playing in, mm-hmm. and we started going, and we became pretty good friends, and we stuck at it, and we sort of once we moved to Dundas, we sort of hit a formula, and it's been going ever since. And more recently, we've started on a Monday night now, which is more there's no rules about this, but Monday's more open and more of a jam, and I think we tend to get more guitarists coming through on a Monday night because they like, guitarists like to jam a bit.
Yes. And
solo. But it's still a bit of structure. Still, all the charts and stuff that we have still means that the song's got a bit of structure and it's not, not made up on the spot, and you don't have 4 or 5 people doing a similar version of the same song but not the same song. So it works good. And we were saying this week that the crowd coming on a Monday is about the same size as it comes on a Tuesday now, which is
that's good, really good.
Good. And look, some people come, they're musicians, and you know them, and you go, mate, why don't you play? You're so good. We know you're good. And they say, you know what? I love listening, and I just come here to talk to a few mates and listen to the music and have a drink, So it's just cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. So tell the listeners all about when they can go to the Champaign Jam, where it's at, which we've discussed tinily a little bit, and can they contact you on Facebook through that?
They can. Look, Champaign Jam is on Facebook, and if they contact Champaign Jam, they'll get to talk to Graham, who coordinates the bookings for Tuesday night. Monday nights are open. You can just turn up on the night. So Champaign Jam is from 7:30 to 10:30 on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's at Dundas Sports Club, who have been absolute marvellous in supporting live music and in particularly helping us with Champaign Jam. So they've been just a wonderful partnership. So so if you feel like you need to sing a song or play a song and you don't want to plan too much, rock up on a Monday and we usually squeeze you in. If you want something on Tuesday, which is a little bit more formal and structured and has a house band, you need to sort of contact Graham and say, hey, I'd like to come next week and I'd like to do these 2 songs. Is that okay? And he'll say, yeah, we can do those, or no, sorry, we're not good at death metal, but we're good at most other things. So, but we've had metal guys there, so sometimes we've had a young group of kids that are playing sort of metal stuff. It's probably not our scene, in a way, but it's music's music, and people seem to like the fact that all types of people come, and we've had country guys, and we've had rock guys, and we've had metal guys, and we certainly get a lot of folkies and everywhere in between. So it's no rules about.
Yeah, you know what's really surprised me is seeing these young kids. And there's a young girl in particular, I'm not sure what her name is, and she has this big Les Paul. I mean, it must weigh as much as what she does. And she just rips it out. And it's just like, where did that come from such a little girl?
Well, it's funny. Every time someone wants to do Sweet Child of Mine, Graham and I go, oh, you play it. We're all really clumsy at playing that riff, and she comes along and plays it.
Yep.
So fluently and beautifully, and she, and her brother, by the way, who's playing bass, they're just amazing, and they're just, they're going to be stars. I mean, they are now, really, and she played Sultans of Swing on last Tuesday, and which is one of my kind of favourite songs that I do like to play it. But, I get nervous every time I play it, because unless you're sort of doing the Knopfler sort of sound, people are expecting that. And I had a little yak to her and I said, oh, I bet you've been learning that for a while. And she said, yeah, I learned it last Saturday.
Oh, my God.
And, she did a marvellous job of it. And, we were amazed, because it's a difficult song because of the feel that Mark Knopfler has and the tone that he has. Plays and she was fantastic, but everything she plays is good. She's just obviously got a very good musical gift, and she's going to be wonderful if she sticks at it. She's just going to be amazing.
Oh, absolutely. She's just got, and you can tell when she gets upset with herself, because her face screws up and she's like, oh my God, I've made a mistake and I don't like it.
I know. We all added that. It's so funny, because everyone knows that if you don't give it away, if you keep your poker face on, people really can't tell. Especially when there's a drummer and a bass player, you can hit a lot of bum notes without people really noticing. But us guitarists always pull a face, or whoever's making, you made a mistake. It's so funny.
You all do it. We all do it.
Yeah. And if you just kept our faces straight and played on. No one would know most of the time.
Yeah. So, Glenn, who or what was your earliest inspiration or influence when you were young?
I was thinking about this, and you'll laugh at this. So the earliest music I can remember listening to with any seriousness was Rolf Harris.
Oh, really?
I-
Good
we
on him.
we had a I don't know. We had a car, and we must have had a cassette player, a portable cassette player, and to keep me quiet, Mum and Dad would let me listen to stuff on the cassette player. And we had a Rolf Harris was the one of the earliest ones I can remember, and it was. Yeah, I can't even remember some of the songs. They were adult songs. They weren't even his kids' songs. One of them was like "Have Some Madeira, My Dear" or something like that. But I loved them, and I loved listening to those tunes. And he's not a very popular man anymore, and
No.
supports him for being like that, and obviously no one knew until later in life, but he was still an amazing influence on kids in Australia in particular.
Sure.
And Coogee Bear and his show on TV, so that's the first thing. And then I used to go and send away on holidays.
Yeah.
As you do, and one of my aunts and uncles had quite a few Beatles records, so I remember really listening to the Beatles. This was before I really had any understanding of music, and they also had a piano, which I remember trying to play along to the Beatles on the piano. And I'm sure that was very unmusical, but so they're my earliest. So, so the Beatles, I think anybody that's around my age probably had a Beatles phase at one stage. Pretty hard to avoid
Well, Glenn, I happen to know that you still love the Beatles.
I do love the Beatles. I don't play them as much as I used to, but I love all their songs that have sort of got that that strong backbeat, which was a lot of them are just so great for dancing, and people like them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I was probably more a Paul guy than a John guy. But later years, I really was listening to George a lot, and I loved. He had a few good albums out, and he was an amazing slide guitar player, which he was so modest and quiet. I think George would go to a gig and then he'd go home and garden or something, So
Well, yeah, look, I've seen a few things with the guys. I think it's called Get Back, actually, and it's when they go back into a studio because they've got a show to do. I'm not exactly sure on the logistics of all that, but you see, just like George is there with his like guru fella sitting in the corner, or not in the corner, but you know what I mean, sitting there, and Paul is like really directing everybody on what to do, and John's having his say, and poor old George just sits there and doesn't say much at all.
I'll play whatever you want me to play, Paul.
That's the one, and he does it with such finesse too.
Yeah. Well, I saw Paul McCartney talking about that because he was worried because he knew that he had that reputation, and he said when he saw the movie, he was quite relieved because it showed just how much they did love and care for each other, and how moments like everybody who is in a room all day every day with someone, eventually you spit the dummy with them, but
yes.
they were mates, and it was amazing. And I think John and Paul were mates before. Paul and George were mates before they met John. He was the one that introduced them. So it's a lovely story, and it seems like it should be a movie because it seems so like unlikely to have happened, yet it did, and it was. I think it's probably still is the biggest thing that happened on a worldwide level musically. They were just a phenomenon.
Absolutely, you'd hate to think of what the world would be like without the Beatles.
Yeah, and their songs are clever, and they were, and even their simple songs I really like. I mean, I'm a big fan of if a song sounds good on an acoustic guitar, it's a good song.
Yeah, right.
All their songs, or a lot of their songs, and probably not all of them, but most of their songs, you can sit around a campfire and sing along with a guitar to, and they work.
And everybody knows at least some Beatles songs.
Yeah, absolutely, And I think that's probably a constant. I got guitar lessons when I was a kid off a guy who lived up the road who, you know, I guess, you know, without me really being conscious of it, was a pretty big inspiration on me. And he loved John Denver. And
Oh,
as a
cool.
result of that, I ended up knowing, you know, most of John Denver's catalogue at that time. And I remember years later, you know, I outgrew that guy in guitar lessons, and I went to someone else and I took him a record and said, I want to sound like that. You know, he said, but that's an orchestra. You know, oh, okay. So you're saying I can't sound like that? You know, you say, well, you know, you can do bits of it. But, you know, it was very funny because, you know, when you start out, you don't have any idea, like, you know, tuning
No.
your guitar. And, you know, the first step is learning how to tune your guitar. And I reckon that took a year.
By ear, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and we're so spoilt now with all our,
Yeah.
you know, our tuners and stuff, but you guys,
We
yeah.
used to do better by ear. I guess the difference now is that everyone in the band's tuned to the
The
same
same.
pitch. But, you know, all the good guitarists are saying that, you know, tuning it to a tuner is okay as a starting point, and then they tweak it from there to, you
Yeah.
know, they sweeten the tuning a little bit because the guitar is such an imperfect instrument, really.
Yeah. What you notice though is on a lot of different tracks or from a lot of different bands and artists, is you listen to it on the radio or on a MP3 or CD or whatever you've got, and you try to play it and you're going, hang on, I'm in the key of D, but it doesn't sound right. It's more like they're playing like E flat.
Oh, yeah,
Do you
yeah,
know what I mean? So they're just that slight bit out, but they're all that slight bit out.
yeah. You
So,
notice that when you try to play along with Rolling Stones?
yeah, and AC/DC in some songs
Yeah.
too.
Well,
Yeah.
stuff on, you know, I think they record things to tape first. And, you know, with the Beatles, they were saying, you know, in the early days where you didn't have the machines that you have now, you're only able to use a very small number of tracks. I think their first things were just 2 tracks, and they were recording everything live. And then they got a 4-track machine, and ultimately 16 tracks and bigger came in. But they were, you know, the tapes were stretching, and you know,
Mm.
reading something fascinating today about I think it was Muddy Waters or one of those guys. Who was the guy that went down the crossroad? Was that Muddy Waters?
No, down the
Uh,
crossroads, that was Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson. So
Yeah.
they reckon that they've discovered that all his recordings were sped up because they wanted to fit them exactly onto the record. So they sped them up, and they reckon that
Interesting.
how they worked it out, but they worked out that it should have been. And someone slowed the songs down and they go, yeah, it sounds so much more natural now than it did before. So, you know, but I mean, I guess the point is that technology impacts on music, and, you know, the Beatles stuff was the way that they played in the beginning had to be recorded in one go, and then as they got better, the industry and the technology matured, and they were able to use the technology, be it at the beginning cutting up tapes and reversing them and doing all sorts of clever stuff, and then later on, you know, the bigger machines came in and they were able to do like Sergeant Pepper's and take as they want. So they were just the right band at the right time in the right place, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how did you get your start in the music industry? Who was your first band or first duo
Well,
that you played with, and what age, if you don't
oh,
mind me asking?
I oh, gee, that's a good question. I think at my first band I was in, I was probably 18 or 19, but I remember playing at a high school and something and being absolutely terrified. Um, um, it was really funny when I was at school. There were a couple of guys that had, you know, the music guys, which I was a sports guy really.
Oh,
Guys that were musicians, and they just were musicians. You know, that's what they were. And they had bands, and they were doing Doobie Brothers stuff, and they were just unbelievable. You
wow.
know, and I think I started learning guitar when I was 13 or so. So I was still, you know, able to strum a few chords and do stuff. But, you know, anything beyond that was just magic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Then I got into a band, I think it was called Exit, I think was the band. And our first paying gig was at a place called the Log Cabin, which is still there.
Yes, it
It's
is. Yeah.
a lolly shop now, but it used to be a bar. And I think I was the oldest in the band, and I would have just been 18 or 19. And I think one of the other guys was about my age. Our lead singer and our lead guitarist was a 15-year-old.
No way.
I think his name was Stephen Kroska. Haven't seen him since those days. He was always going to be a star. He was a great singer and a good player, and he had the groove.
Yeah.
He was really good. And I was giving him guitar lessons for a while, and then he was just got better than I did. So he said, "Start a band." And then we had a drummer who wouldn't have been 18. And our first gig was this, and they didn't pay you in money; they paid you in beer.
Oh my God.
This was 80s, but what might have even been in the 70s. It might have been in the late 70s. So yeah, it was 5 miles out of Lithgow, out of town, and I was really lucky because I've never had the drinking gene. So I'd have a beer, and I never, the number of times I've been drunk in my life are fairly
On one hand.
far between. I've never had that in me, and I guess it's a good thing. But one of the other boys liked to drink, so that happened, and it was just such a stupid thing, and it doesn't happen today, and it's a good thing. So, but back then, drinking and smoking and music and gigs and pubs, it was the scene, the smokes come down overnight, and so so that was my first band, and it wasn't a great success. We did do a few gigs, and then I met a country guy, and I started playing in a country band, and his name was Bones. His name was Ken Bones Mallory. He was a grader driver, or a plant operator, I think they called them. There was so much construction around Lithgow in those days that there were the workforce were coming and going all the time. So he and I don't even know how we met, but we kind of hit it off. He seemed a lot older than me. He was probably 30, I guess, and he was a good country singer. And he and I, another mate, won a country music contest at Parks. It wasn't anything to be writing home to mum about, but it was based on audience applause and things. We won it. I think I was playing banjo.
You play banjo, Glenn?
I don't now, but I was playing it for a while. I like finger picking, so banjo felt quite natural. I'm not very fast with a plectrum, but I'm not bad with my fingers. So I was playing banjo for a while, and we won it with our own rendition of I think it was Grandma's Feather Bed.
Oh, okay.
Those competitions where they say, "Let's hear it to these guys," and the crowd goes, "Yeah," So we got the biggest round of applause, and I do have a little plaque somewhere that says it. I think we called ourselves GKG because it was Gary, Glenn, and Ken,
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
I learned a lot out of that because that was great fun, and I was a relatively average guitar player at that stage, and I think I improved a lot because just playing in front of people and playing regularly is so good for you. And
yes,
I learned lots of stuff that I still like. I like Slim Dusty and John Williamson and people like that, and who were quite young. And I think the best thing that happened then, I stumbled across Willie Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
He just had Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain came out, I think, and I was going,
beautiful.
And so he's been one of my, secret loves throughout my life. I don't think anyone sings and plays like Willie Nelson.
No, they don't.
He's such a cool dude, and he is, I think he's wonderful. And he's a country guy, but he listened to Django Reinhardt and those jazz guys, so he got all of that stuff, and you can hear it in the way he plays and so forth. So I think he's a genius, and I probably, is he my favorite? I think if I had a chance to jam with someone, I'd go for him.
Yeah,
I reckon
right.
He's just and on the same vein, later on, one of my good mates, whose name is Max Sledge, that's his stage name. His name's Guy Hewitt. Mm-hmm. He was in the Fuds originally, and he and I played in a country band called Max Sledge and the Tender Mercies, which we stole from a Robert Duvall movie of the same name. But we thought it was such a good name, and we were I think we were acting more than singing or playing, but it was such fun, and we did a few country jobs, and we ended up doing a gig at Dungog for a polo event with Kerry Packer hosted. So we were playing for Kerry Packer, and
Oh, wow.
day and had breakfast at the pub. Here's Kerry Packer. He didn't actually talk to us and say, "Gee, you guys are really good," or anything like that. But we'll go, "Hey, over there," you know.
That's a
That
bit
was
of a
fun.
claim to fame there, Glenn.
Well, the claim to fame is, the thing I remember most about that night is not the music or the song. So it was great fun because we were playing. Back in those days, you kind of played, they say, "Oh, can you do," I think it was 50-50, I think they still called it. They say you had to do some dinner music and then a bit of dance music after that.
Yeah.
When you get to play dinner music, it's just make stuff up and play instrumental kind of stuff, which is so much fun. I mean, it's fraught with danger because it can be train wrecks, but we love doing that sort of stuff. And then, the dance stuff. But we were playing with a couple of country guys. One guy who's passed away now, unfortunately, but he was a great country player, a really good musician, a really good singer.
Mm-hmm.
But he loved songs like "I Got a Tiger by the Tail," it's hard to see. We were doing stuff with him. The thing that both my mate Guy and I remember from that weekend was the smell of those two guys. They stunk. And we had to like, we go, "What's that smell?"
Oh, my God, that's so
Funny.
funny.
I think sometimes good musicians smell. There you go.
So that's one funny story. Have you got another funny story for me, Glenn, from any gig or
Bunch of full of funny stories. Couple of good fun moments. One of my friends is funny. One of my friends just rang me from Lithgow and said, "Hey, I'm in Lithgow. I'm at the Lithgow Workmen's Club, and I'm having dinner. They're thinking of moving to Lithgow." And I said, "Oh yeah, I've played there." It's a really good club. So we used to play downstairs at the Workies, and the radio station had a jingle for "Downstairs at the Workies," this week. And one gig we played there, and the Fuds were never very good at knowing whether we could get through a whole song. People would go, "Yeah, I know that. We'll just do that one," And a Beatles song called "Oh Girl."
Oh, yes.
Is there anybody out there going to hear my story? All about a girl who came to say. And then when it got to the bit, "Oh girl," and the boys tried to sing harmony, it just became... And I looked around and the guys had gone. They were just couldn't stop laughing, and they ducked out the back to sit out in the change room to calm down. And I was sort of looking around there, and I was by myself, and I was going, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll be right back in a few minutes." It was very, we still laugh about that one. Every time we go and try and play that song, of course, that comes up. And the other very funny time was we played around Lithgow at places, and we played at Orange a few times. And Orange was a bit of a scene because it had an ag college and young girls going to uni and so forth. And we played there, and the Fuds were a bit daggy even then, but we
Yes,
we'd
aren't daggy.
We were daggy, yeah. We were but our songs kind of worked, and as you said before, no one else was playing them because they were bad songs probably, but they just weren't. Everyone wanted to play the same 80s rock that they're playing now, or the 70s, the Angels and all that sort of stuff. So we weren't playing that, and it worked for us sometimes, and it didn't work. But we had a really big night there.
Yeah.
And while we were packing up, a couple of girls came up to us and said, "Oh, we're going off to a party now. Do you guys want to come?" And we looked at each other and said, "Oh no, we got to pack up and drive home." Later on, we're going, "Oh, we're stupid, aren't we?"
But also, too, what the public don't realise is it can take for the duo, it takes like half an hour flat to pack up, right?
Yeah,
but for a band, it takes a little bit longer. And
Yeah.
it's like, we've just played for 3 or 4 hours. We have to pack up now for an hour. We're a little bit tired.
Well, back in those days, that we didn't have as much gear. Like, I reckon I carried twice as much gear. So I reckon we would probably set up in half an hour back then, because it was just 2 speaker boxes and a mixer, and it was mainly vocals that were in there. You're lucky if you had fold back. Sometimes you did. We've got a good story about our foldbacks catching on fire one night. That was exciting. Put into someone said, "You guys should call yourself the Flaming Monitors." Because it caught on fire, and people were going, "Is that part of the show?"
And how the hell did they catch on fire, Glenn?
Oh, well, we're so lucky now. The gear is so good. Back then, everything was underpowered, like high-powered amplifiers weighed a ton, so you not to have them. So they were overpowered, and you were pushing them too hard, and the speakers get hot. They caught on fire.
Oh, that's classic. The fact that people said, "Oh, is that part of the show?" It's kind of like, no.
Pretty fun. I'm a nerd. I'm a gear nerd, so I think I got into music just as much because I like all the gear, and I love valve amplifiers and all that technology. So I was always interested in that side of it. And we remember the gear we had, and they were WEM, which is a British brand of gear, and they caught on fire. But the other time we played in a nearby town called Bathurst, so there's Lithgow, Bathurst and Orange as you're sort of heading west out of Sydney, and there's a pub in Bathurst, I think it was called the Occidental, and we were having a nice afternoon there. Yeah. And halfway through our gig, a bunch of bikies came in. One of the bikies took a little bit of a shine to our bass player, which was my mate Guy, who's not in the Fuds anymore. He moved to Lithgow and had a family and so forth. So, but he was would have been my best mate at the time. We shared a house, and he got the attention of one of the bikies, and the bikie decided to come up and try and mount Guy's leg.
Oh no!
Yes, so the bikie was making love to Guy, and Guy was looking at us and saying, "What do we do, fellas?" And we were sort of saying, "Well, just relax and smile, Guy. Keep playing." And so they turned out to be nice guys, but they were, we were a bit terrified at the time. But so, and I think our funniest night ever was JB has a family up around Armidale and Tamworth, that area. What's the little place? Bendemeer is the little place between.
Yeah.
We get up that way a little bit, and then one year somehow we got a gig at a place called Boomplay, which is, as the name suggests, way out in the boondocks. It's past Moree, nearly in Queensland, and they had mud trials, so we played at the Boomplay mud trials. And we always seemed to play in School of Arts halls, the old town.
Yeah, I do. Isn't that
School
funny?
of Arts halls, which were not. They often had stages, which was lovely, and they were, usually tin sheds that, you play a chord and it bounces back to you. Half a second later, you get the slap back from the back of the room. But all right, we're full of people. And my friend Guy was a smoker at that stage, and he always smoked drum, so he'd roll his own drum.
Oh, yuck.
And he'd smoke and drink and do everything back then. So he was smoking, drum, and playing. A couple of young guys up the front of the stage were looking at him going, "Oh, give us a drag, mate, give us a drag." So he drag, and they took it and raced off, and they came back later on and said, "Oh yeah, man, we're stoned. That was really good." Guys, it was just tobacco, mate. So they were hilarious, and then they got sick, I think, because But it was funny.
Silly
they just
buggers.
thought those cool rock stars are smoking joints on stage, and wow.
I'm sure that's happened before. Not with your band, maybe, but it has happened.
I'm sure it's happened. Yeah, well, it never happened on stage. We don't go that far, but but that was a very funny. It was like we hired a van, and the whole band went up in the van, and it was
road trip.
What those people really want to do is do the gig, but it just seems like it's forever to get there, and then you're waiting. So a lot of playing music is just waiting around for the.
That's true. That's true.
But it was fun, and because of my friendship with John and the fact that he comes from that area, every now and again we get up there and have played up there. We played at the Bendemeer Hotel a few times, and John had a mate who was a farmer up there, and as soon as we walked in the door, he said, "Here's a beer, boys, drink them up." After a few, we were just trying to pour them into pot plants and stuff.
Yes, especially if you've got to play.
Just have one more.
Now, Glenn, so I know you play guitar, and now I know you play banjo. What else do you play?
Oh, look, look, I'm not, I don't even consider myself a musician really. When I do play guitar, and that's, my real love is probably acoustic guitar.
Yes.
If I only had one guitar, it would probably be an acoustic guitar. Though that new pink one I got's pretty nice.
Oh, she's sweet.
So
She's sweet.
and I keep on buying more guitars, so I guess but I'm in love with guitars and the look and the feel, the smell of them and so forth. So that's what I mainly play. I mean, I did get some piano lessons for a while, but I certainly can't play piano other than hold a few notes down, a few chords down, or something like that. So I'm very envious of the guys like Robbie Askew and that can play all these instruments and play bass and piano, and he plays guitar as well. So they're just amazing musicians. And I always cringe of using the word musician, because I think I'm a guitar player, and so I know people who are musicians.
Oh, Glenn. Listen, how I've heard you play and some of the stunning country licks that you do, it makes the hair on the back of your neck prickle.
Oh, yeah.
And so, Glenn, you are a musician.
Oh, yeah, but it just depends on my thinking is, these are people that are not only hearing melody and harmony, it's a time thing as well. It's what makes the really good ones is it's not so much what you play, it's when you play.
Yeah.
Their groove and feel and their rhythm that's what I always find impressive. And like people like Rob and Graham, I've said it to Graham before that he's the groove man. I mean, you watch the jams and people are going, how do we start this? How's it going? And he'll go like this, and he'll say, a lot of the drummers, are still listening to him for that too.
I see that.
We're very blessed with the talent that comes through the jam, but Graham and Rob are I've played with them both, so I know when you play with them, they make you sound good and they make you play better, because they're, not only playing the right thing, they're playing it at the right time. And it's just, a pleasure to be playing with them.
It sure is, but you're a very humble man, Glenn. Now, you recorded a song or two, I believe?
I recorded, my friends call it music to slash your wrist by.
Glenn! I doubt that's true.
Well, in the sense that every song seems to be about, a breakup or a relationship failing or something, because that's what you write about.
It is. So,
no one writes. Well, they do, but not. Most of the good songs are written when people are
down and out,
tragedy or stuff. So, and I must admit, I love that melancholy type of, what do I do? I'm so sad, my girlfriend's left.
There's something about it.
Songwriting, and fortunately for me, I guess, my Noriko, my partner, and I know we just work together so well, and I don't think I've had an unhappy day since we've been together. So we need a bit more, up and down in our relationship, so I can go away and write some songs. But writing songs is just, I think, something that's inside you, and I certainly, I think I've probably written half a dozen or 10 or so, or some that aren't worth doing. But people like Paul Kelly always says you got to write hundreds before you get good ones, and you just keep on writing. And if you look at Willie Nelson, he's written so many songs, but he seemed to be good at it right from the start, like Crazy for Patsy Cline, which I know you've done that one even at the jam. It's just such a well-crafted song. And so my songs are usually start off with an acoustic guitar, because that's what I like the sound of, and you build from there, and they're usually about some sort of sadness. I can't remember ever writing a happy song.
Well, I think we'll take this moment and I'll drop your MP3 into this interview here.
Yep.
I was young and my heart was true. We had a time and you went away. Christmas cards are all we got to say. Christmas cards on a piece of string. Christmas cards, how the angels sing. Always thought you'd find a way back, winding home like a train on a track. I'd get a letter saying you'd wanna stay, but Christmas cards are all that come my way. Christmas cards on a piece of string. Christmas cards, how the angels sing. In my dreams I'm waiting for a train. I know you're on it and I'm calling out your name, but as it pulls out I'm still standing at the station, and you're still on it. Seems it's not your destination. Time and you went away. Now Christmas cards are all we got to say. Christmas cards on a piece of string. Christmas cards, hear the angels sing.
That was Christmas Cards by Glenn Way. Wasn't that just a really lovely, lovely song? And great, great guitar playing.
Well, that song is. Do you remember? Or you'd remember when people used to send Christmas cards, of course.
Yes.
And I keep remembering my family, we used to go, to one of the aunties or the grandmas for Christmas, and they'd always have their Christmas cards on a string.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep.
They'd hang a string across the wall and they'd fit all the cards on the string.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, that memory always sits in my head. And, I guess this is about a breakup, and the only time we really talk to each other is when we send a Christmas card. And, so Christmas cards on a piece of string is so it's a mixture of different memories, but one of them from my childhood, people, remember you used to put Christmas cards in Venetian blinds and do all that.
Yep.
And nobody sends Christmas cards anymore. So most people go, what the hell are you talking about? But, that's what it's about. It's about, a relationship which was, wonderful, but ended, and and as relationships go, you're still kind of friends, but you can't be friends.
No, not in the same way. No.
So the only time you really communicate is when you get a Christmas card, and that just stuck in my head, and it was my attempt to play slide like George Harrison, and I didn't do as well as George, but there's a lot of techniques you can use when you're recording songs to improve. And the wonderful thing about recording on computers is you get to have a lot of goes at it.
That's absolutely true.
So, and I just love that whole, I got heavily into the gear side of things. And, I was very lucky. I was living in a house and I had a big room to myself, and I was able to set up a pretend recording area, and I recorded anyone I could get. My niece was a good singer, my brother was a good singer, and John sang lots of songs. So we just went through a phase where we were recording everything.
How good is that?
Because I don't. we don't have a quiet room for a start, so it makes it hard. But I sort of only record stuff now when you're trying to learn stuff and you want to listen to it, or
Yeah.
But that's what that song's about. It's kind of, they're funny how songs happen.
Yeah, it is, and I appreciate that you've sent that along to me so we can add it in.
Lovely.
And I'd really like to thank you for your time this evening, Glenn. You're really a true gentleman.
Thank you so much.
And I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday night, eh?
Fantastic. Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks so much, Glenn. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, everyone, that was Glenn Way from the Fabulous Fuds and also from the Champaign Jam out at Dundas. Isn't he just the most fabulous guy? I love his stories, his energy, his guitar playing, and he's genuinely a really great guy. Well, you have been listening to Conversations with Crystal. I hope you've had a great night tonight, just like I have. So until next week, please stay happy, stay safe, stay cool, stay awesome, and most of all, please stay tuned to this channel. Good night.